All right. Well, hello and welcome. My name is Mike Dillard, and I'll be your host today. And first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on making the decision and taking the time to make this presentation a priority in your life. Because at a bare minimum, I truly believe that this is something you will absolutely never forget. But most likely, it's going to represent a major turning point for you and your financial future, as it has for me. Now, I have a massive amount of information that I want to share with you guys today, so I'd like to go ahead and just dive right in and do that by asking you three very simple questions. The first one is, what do the rich do with their money that the middle class does not? The next is, why do the rich continue to get richer, whether the markets go up or down? And finally, do you need to be rich in order to use their strategies, or can anyone, no matter their age or social standing in life, follow in their footsteps? Well, these were the questions I asked myself as I watched my friends and my family members lose nearly everything in the crash of 2008. And I believe for all of us, that was an incredibly eye-opening series of events to witness. And it sent me on a mission to prevent that kind of thing from ever happening again to the people that I care about. Well, today I'm going to give you the answers to those three questions and much more. It has taken me nearly 4 years and on an adventure around the world to find them, but what I've discovered has changed my life forever, and I know that it can do the same for you. So here's what we're going to cover during today's webinar. First and foremost, we're going to start out with a 7-part formula used by the rich to predict the financial future so they can protect themselves and profit during times of change, just like we're experiencing today. Are we on the road to a lasting economic recovery, or are we on the verge of another collapse? I'm going to show you the results of my research and how I've invested my own money accordingly, so you'll actually see the investments that I've made and how they've done. In fact, I'm going to show you how 2 of those investments have helped me create a passive income of around $8,000 per month in less than 2 years without any additional work on my part. I'm going to show you how I legally created a tax-free retirement using a very special type of account that only 7 in about every 10,000 people currently take advantage of. And finally, how I've created a crash-proof retirement strategy so that I'll never have to worry about a repeat of 2008 again. So whether you're young and just starting to think about your financial future, or if you're a baby boomer and your needs are much more urgent, I'm going to revolutionize the way that you think about money and the world. Now, what's going to make this presentation quite different than anything you've ever seen before is that we aren't going to talk about complicated stock charts, trading strategies, mutual funds, flipping houses, or anything that you've been sold, frankly, by your average retail financial advisor or institution in the past. Instead, we're going to approach the topic of making money, investing, and building wealth from a very different but very simple frame, which is, if you want to become rich, you must invest like the rich. Which frankly sounds like a pretty logical approach, but then you're left with the most important question of all, which is how. How do you invest like the rich, especially if you aren't rich already? Well, that's what I'm going to be teaching you today. I'm going to take you inside the black box investing strategies of the rich. I'm going to show you how they really protect and grow their money so that you can follow in their footsteps. And as you'll see, what they're doing is very different than what you're doing. Now, before we dive in, most of you are already familiar with my story, but I'm sure there's a few people out there watching this whom I haven't had a chance to meet yet, so I wanted to give you guys a quick 20-second bio so that you'll know a little bit more about me and my background and who the heck is this guy and why should I listen to him? So once again, my name is Mike Dillard. I am 36 years old, and I split my time between downtown Austin, Texas, and a modest ranch that I have in the hill country where I raise goats and chickens and have an organic greenhouse. And yes, I'm actually blessed with this amazing view outside in my backyard. And in 2005, I launched my first business teaching small business owners how to sell their products and services online. And I went from dead broke and waiting tables to making my first $1 million by the age of 27. Since then, over 1 million people around the world have subscribed to my email newsletters on entrepreneurship and marketing, and I've had the privilege of speaking to thousands of people from around the world on stage or through the various publications that I've been featured in. And I know that when it comes to the internet, people can just throw out numbers and they can make up anything that they want. So I thought I'd pull out an old 2009 tax return for just one of the 3 businesses that I own, which you can see here did about $6.3 million just by itself back in 2009. And the really cool part is that success has allowed us to contribute back to causes that we find really meaningful. And in fact, we were named the Corporation of the Year last year by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which was a huge honor. And then when it comes to my personal life and what I love to do for fun, I'm actually a huge Baja racing fan, and you'll usually find me competing in the Baja 1000 down in Mexico or the Mint 400 up in Nevada here in the States. So how did I get involved in the finance and investing world? Well, despite my success as a business owner, I wasn't raised with a real education in wealth creation. I grew up in a middle-class family with hardworking parents who did the exact same thing that everybody else did with their money. They handed it over to a financial advisor who invested it for the long term in a diversified portfolio of mutual funds, and they bought a house. After all, this is exactly what their parents did. But after a lifetime of work, my family wasn't rich, they weren't retired, and neither were any of their friends, despite the fact that many of them had reached the highest levels of the corporate totem pole. So call me crazy, but when their financial advisor wanted to sit me down and put an investment strategy in place for my future, I looked at him with quite a bit of skepticism. After all, he wasn't wealthy or retired either, and yet he had this very pretty picture of a pyramid that illustrated all of the strategies and financial products he would place my money into. And ironically, he and his company made a commission on every single one of them, whether I made a dime or not. So I would come to realize they were selling me into Wall Street's promise, which basically goes something like this. Give us your money every month for the next 40 years, and we'll make sure that you have plenty to live on when you retire at the age of 60, which frankly might be nice if it were actually true, but as the world found out in 2008, Wall Street will promise you the world to get their hands on your money, but they won't take any responsibility when they lose it. And lose it, they did. I was horrified by the fact that my family and their friends nearly lost everything in the crash of '08, and yet their only option was to keep giving money to the same exact people who lost it for one simple reason. They didn't have an alternative, and most likely, you don't either. And I found that so unacceptable that I handed over the reins of my old company to my business partner back in 2010, and I've dedicated my entire life to teaching the people of the world how to invest like the rich so they can achieve the same kind of security and prosperity without being victimized by Wall Street again. Now, my business partner and I literally packed up our bags, we grabbed a camera, and we decided to travel around the world in order to learn how to invest, not from retail financial advisors who are really just the sales force for Wall Street, if you just think about it, but from financially free individuals who had cracked the code themselves and amassed millions or even billions of dollars in wealth. And then we took it a step further. We invested our own personal money using their strategies. So how did our plan turn out? Very, very, very well. And in fact, I'm going to show you the actual investments and the numbers later. But first, we really need to start at the beginning. Now, there's one skill each of our mentors during this process had in common, which is what I want to share with you first right now, and that is the ability to predict the financial future. Well, it turns out that human beings are quite predictable. We tend to make the same mistakes over and over again, which is why history tends to repeat itself. So if you understand the past, you can basically predict the future. And that ability to predict the future is the key to building incredible wealth. And in fact, here's a little story that's going to prove my point. Once upon a time, life was tough for the largest empire that had ever spanned the globe. Unemployment levels were at all-time highs and getting worse. And as a result, people were saving money and they were spending less. Retail shops continued to close their doors and layoffs increased as demand for products slowed. So in response, the government hired thousands of workers at inflated wages. The administration spent record amounts of money on public works projects, food programs to feed the population, and continued to increase the size of the military in order to protect their interests around the world. And as the massive costs for these programs continued to increase, the government had no choice but to print more money in order to pay the bills. And all of this will ultimately result in the hyperinflationary destruction of the currency and the fall of the empire. And I can say that with 100% confidence and certainty because it has already happened. Everything I just described was pulled from the pages of history and are recounting the final days of Rome in 301 AD under Emperor Gaius Diocletian. But if that sounds like a very familiar storyline here today, then you've gotten the point. The trends I just described happened to Rome as they continued to expand their empire. In order to fund their global expansion and wars, Roman leaders continually devalued their currency at that time, which happened to be gold and silver, and they did it by clipping coins and mixing them with lesser metals like copper year after year, reducing the value of every other coin in the process. This led to rampant inflation by the time Gaius took the throne in 284 AD, as it took more and more coins to buy the same amount of goods. So in 301, he issued his infamous Edict of Prices, which imposed the death penalty on anyone selling goods for more than the government-mandated prices, and he froze all wages. But prices continued to rise. Merchants could no longer sell their wares at a profit, so they closed their shops. People either left their chosen careers or just accepted welfare from the state. And at that time, Rome had a population of about 1 million citizens, and the government was handing out free wheat to 200,000 of them a day. That's 1 in 5. In 2007, the population of the United States was right at 302 million people, and 26.3 million of them relied on food stamps to eat. That's about 1 in 11. Well, back in 2013, just 6 years later, the U.S. population hit 317 million people, and 47.8 million of them relied on food stamps. That's almost 1 out of every 6 adults, and an 81% increase just since 2007. Now, the numbers are even worse for children, with more than 1 in 4 now reliant upon government handouts to eat. Now, because the economy was so poor, Diocletian adopted a guns and butter policy, putting people to work by hiring thousands of new soldiers and funding numerous public works projects. This effectively doubled the size of the government and the military. Well, today, the government and all of its related agencies accounts for about 40% of the U.S. gross domestic product. So with the government now acting as the consumer and employer of last resort, deficit spending skyrocketed. And all of this resulted in the world's first documented hyperinflation. All currency-based trade came to an end, the economic system reverted to barter, and the greatest empire in history collapsed. Now, we often hear the saying that you can predict the future by studying the past. And while that may be true, I have to say that I'm not a major student of historic events because I believe there's a more reliable predictor of the future, and that is human nature, which I am an avid student of. Because no matter how much our society has grown technologically or how much knowledge we've acquired, at the end of the day, we are still human, and our decisions and our patterns and our behaviors are still dictated by the one thing that we can never escape from, which is our nature and our drive to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. So while many people may think that we as a nation are different than Rome, that we've evolved, and that we have the knowledge and the technology to prevent or fix any challenge that may arise, they are forgetting the one and only thing that matters, that we are still the same animal behind the wheel, and that our nature has not changed. In fact, as Rich Dad advisor Michael Maloney documents in his recent book on the history of currencies, there's a 7-stage progression that happens over and over again. And I'm going to give that to you right now. So in stage number 1, a country starts out with good money, which is either gold or backed by gold. In stage 2, as it develops economically and socially, it begins to take on more and more economic burdens, adding layer upon layer of public works and social programs. In stage 3, as its economic affluence grows, so does its political influence, and it increases expenditures to fund a massive military. That brings us to stage 4, when it eventually puts that military to use and expenditures explode. To fund that war, the costliest of man's endeavors, it steals the wealth of its people by replacing their money with currency that can be created in unlimited quantities, and it does this at the outbreak of a war, such as in the case of World War I, during a war, as in Vietnam, or as a perceived solution to the economic ravages of previous wars, as Germany did after World War I. Now, this chart clearly shows the massive disparity between the military spending of the United States versus the rest of the world. And in fact, in 2013 alone, official quote-unquote spending figures will reach almost $700 billion. Think about that for a minute and what I've just shared with you. Well, that brings us to stage number 6, where finally the wealth transfer caused by the expansion of the currency supply is felt by the population as severe consumer price inflation, triggering a loss of faith in the currency. And finally, in stage 7, an en masse movement out of that currency into precious metals, alternative currencies, and other tangible assets such as housing and farmland takes place. The currency collapses, and massive wealth is transferred to those who had enough foresight to position their money into the right assets beforehand. Oh, and by the way, here's a look at farmland prices in Iowa over the past few years. and in Illinois, and the entire United States on average as a whole. So, you tell me, is history repeating itself once again? Well, it certainly appears that way on my end. And in fact, I believe the United States is sitting right between stage 6 and stage 7. So with warning signs like this all around us, the smartest thing you can do, in my opinion, is to take a deeper dive into what's happening today so that you can better anticipate the future. And then I'm going to show you how you can potentially protect yourself from these major economic shifts and adjust your investing strategy to even profit from them, as I have. So let's do that. There are several critically important trends that the United States, and therefore you, myself, and the rest of the world as a result, will have to deal with in the coming months and years, and your ability to successfully navigate these ticking economic time bombs will most likely determine whether you spend the rest of your life in financial prosperity or, unfortunately for most people, poverty as the middle class is wiped out. Now, the first and most important piece of the puzzle is awareness of these critical trends, so let me show you what those are. On August 6, 2007, the American Home Mortgage Company filed for bankruptcy. This was the sign that the global system could not absorb any more debt. Record amounts of debt around the world that had fueled the incredible growth seen in the US and Dubai and Singapore and Malaysia, China, and many other countries who had experienced massive booms in real estate and development. Well, that day, the debt bubble burst. And because all of this debt had been collateralized and resold time and time again through derivatives, it was an event that was felt around the world. Now, the popping of any credit bubble is a deflationary event, and in the case of the Great Depression, it was extremely deflationary. So when a home goes into foreclosure, a loan gets defaulted on, or someone files for bankruptcy, that currency simply disappears back into currency heaven where it came from. So as credit goes bad, the currency supply contracts and deflation sets in. That's what happened in 1930 to 1933. As a wave of foreclosures and bankruptcy swept the nation, 1/3 of the currency supply of the United States evaporated into thin air. Over the next 3 years, wages and prices fell by 1/3. Companies could not afford to pay their employees, and those people could not afford to pay their bills. And as we all know, whether it's from the stories from our grandparents or pictures from the history books, it was an absolutely disastrous period in our country's history. Well, this process began again in 2008 with the popping of the housing credit bubble. Within the next 24 months following the crash, deflation sucked an estimated $60 trillion worth of credit out of the global economy. That's $60 trillion worth of fuel, which was flaming the fires of growth around the world, and it virtually disappeared overnight. The result was massive deflation. Money and credit became harder and harder to find as the money supply continued to contract. There was less money to be spent, so prices and sales volumes continued to fall. Falling prices and falling sales volume led to more layoffs and reduced salaries, which means less money was available for consumers to spend, creating this downward spiral. The value of people's homes continued to decline, destroying the number one source of available equity and credit that most people had amassed. And you know all this because you lived through it as I did. But here we are years later, and this almost seems like a distant memory or even a dream. You know, the stock market recently has been hitting record highs, which means the panic that people once felt about their retirement portfolios has subsided. Housing prices are starting to recover, and certain markets like Austin are once again in a giant development boom. And this is actually a picture down in the Austin skyline today. It's absolutely unbelievable. So when you look around, there really seems to be this sense that things are back to normal. But deep down in your gut, I will bet you can tell that something's just not right. For example, if we're hitting record stock market highs like we did for all of 2013, why is unemployment still incredibly high? Well, take a look at this chart from a very well-known economist, John Williams. The red line here is the unemployment number you hear about in the news every month, and it's currently about 7%. The gray line up here is called the U6, and it includes everyone who is either unemployed and no longer looking for work, people who are short-time unemployed but still looking for work, and those who are forced to work part-time because they cannot find full-time employment. Well, this number is currently around 14%. And finally, the blue line here is the unemployment rate as it used to be measured up until 1994, and that number is currently around 24%. Well, why did they change the way that it was measured? Because high unemployment rates make for bad politicians and a hard time getting reelected. So instead of actually fixing the problem, they just fixed the way the number was calculated. So which is the most accurate? Well, considering that food stamp usage is at all-time record highs, I'd have to say that this number, in my mind, is definitely the most accurate, and that's at 24%. So, and here's something else that's interesting. The overall median wage for American workers has declined 3.2% from 2009 to the end of 2013. That means people are making 3.2% less money now than they were just a couple of years ago. And then take a look at this. This is the Billion Prices Project, which is run by MIT, and it collects the prices each day from hundreds of online retailers across the world like Amazon on over 500,000 different products every 24 hours in order to do one thing: gauge real inflation rates using real-world prices. And here's what they've found. Over a 5-year period, since the crash of 2008, inflation has increased the prices of everything we purchase, from food to gasoline to clothing to gadgets, by 12%. That simply means the dollars in your savings account have lost 12% of their value in just 5 years. So how in the world can the economy be in a recovery when people are making less money than they were before, when prices have increased by 12%, and when food stamp usage is at record levels? Well, the answer is simple. The economic recovery is an illusion. It's not the result of people making more goods, hiring more employees, or paying them more money, which they can then invest into the stock market. It is a result of unprecedented manipulation by this guy, Ben Bernanke, who's been the head of the Federal Reserve Bank during this economic crisis and the quote-unquote recovery. So since the crash of 2008, Ben and the government have been willing to do everything within their power to fight deflation, because uncontrolled deflation would cause a domino effect of defaulting IOUs that would absolutely destroy a debt-based economy like the one we have, leading to a new Greater Depression. Well, they have two weapons to fight deflation and stimulate the economy. The first is their ability to control the interest rate. This is what banks pay to borrow money from the Federal Reserve and then lend it out to you for home loans, car loans, business loans, etc., etc. And so by lowering the interest rate, therefore making money cheaper to get, they're able to incentivize the world to borrow and lend more money, increasing the amount of money in circulation and therefore fight deflation. When interest rates are low, people buy more houses, they buy more cars, and they take out more loans to start or expand a business. Well, since 2008, the Fed has made an unprecedented move, decreasing the federal funds rate, which is the interest rate, from 5.25% before the crash of 2008 to as low as 0 after the crash. In 2013, the average rate remained at less than 0.1%. In other words, they've maxed out this weapon. They've lowered the interest rate all the way to 0, so this bullet has been spent, which means they only have one left, and that's the printing press. Think of the U.S. economy as a balloon with a slow leak, which represents deflation. Well, in order to keep that balloon full of air, they've got to continually pump in more and more, which represents inflation. That's what the Federal Reserve has been doing with their program that we all have heard of 1,000 times, called quantitative easing. So in order to keep the balloon from collapsing after the crash, the Fed had to inject the banking system with $1.4 trillion in stimulus money by June of 2010, and then continued to do so at a rate of $1 billion per day. In November of 2010, they announced another injection of $600 billion, which is now referred to as QE2. Well, unfortunately, the effects of each new stimulus package decreased with effectiveness. So on December 12th of 2012, the Fed voted to implement QE3, which stated that they would apply 40 to 85 billion in stimulus every single month indefinitely. Any attempt to raise interest rates or end quantitative easing has resulted in an immediate decline in the markets. So just as an addict becomes addicted to drugs, the market and the economy has become addicted to ongoing stimulus, unable to stand up on its own 2 feet without it. So where's all this money going? Because as we've already seen, it isn't going to you or I. Well, in short, it's going to the banks and into the Wall Street casino, which is why they're enjoying record profits, surprise, surprise, while the middle class and poor continue to line up for food stamps in record numbers. So these crazy economic policies are resulting in two things: First, unprecedented levels of debt, and second, the destruction of the dollar's value. In 2013, the U.S. had a gross domestic product of about $16 trillion. Our debt level is now more than $17 trillion and growing by $650 billion to $1 trillion per year since 2008, which means for the very first time in history, we currently owe more than we produce. Now, to put that into perspective, the national debt level took 219 years from 1789 to 2008 to reach $9 trillion. It has increased an additional $8 trillion since President Obama took office. And get this, Washington only collects about $2.8 trillion per year in tax revenues, but they are currently spending more than $3.5 trillion, resulting in that deficit of $640 to $1 trillion per year. But here's the big cherry on top of this rotten sundae. None of these stats take into account our future obligations and liabilities. Oh, how convenient is that? You know, the little unimportant things out there like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Well, according to Senator Tom Coburn, the U.S. has an additional $128 trillion in debt obligations that are coming due for these public services. This is in addition to the $1 to $2 trillion in new debt the U.S. is accumulating annually. So there is currently no realistic way for the government to pay for these obligations, even if the economy had not crashed, without simply printing the money into existence to do so, which is what they've been doing, which means there are only two options left to deal with it. The first, debase the currency through inflation, reducing the overall value of the debt to a manageable level. In this case, boomers will always get a Social Security check each month as promised. Let's say it's for $1,000 a month. But the value of that check will be greatly diminished because of inflation, and it's not going to really do you any good when milk is $15 a gallon. Or for the second option, they can simply default on the debt, throwing the economy into chaos. We can hit the big reset button and fall into the next Great Depression. Which option are they going to choose? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but in the meantime, the big question is, who's buying all of this debt? Because somebody has to. Well, until recently, the biggest buyer has been China, which has around $3 trillion in U.S. holdings. But since 2009, they've been purchasing less and less, and now they've begun to actually sell our debt. So with our biggest bond customer saying, no thank you, there was only one person left with a pocketbook big enough to replace them, and I'll give you a second to guess who that was. Yes, that's right, the number one buyer of U.S. debt since 2008 has been Uncle Sam and the Federal Reserve itself, who is now purchasing up to 80% of all new debt issued because nobody else will buy it. So without anyone else willing to buy U.S. Treasuries, the Fed is being forced to print new money out of thin air in order to buy the debt themselves. And the more money they print, the more we, you and I, owe interest on. The more we owe interest on, the more we have to print to pay for the interest. And we, as the taxpayers of the United States, are left holding the tab for every single dollar of it. This is called debt monetization, and it is the last desperate move a bankrupt institution can make in order to keep their Ponzi scheme going. So, this move has prompted the Standard & Poor's rating agency to downgrade the U.S. credit rating for the very first time in history from AAA to AA with a negative outlook. But this is just the beginning. I believe in the coming months and years, the true state of our union will become clear to everyone. And once that happens, it will cause interest rates on our nation's debt to skyrocket, which is no different than Amex raising the interest rate on your credit card. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds would tumble, and alternative currencies like gold and silver, and frankly, even Bitcoin at this point, would most likely skyrocket. Borrowing costs for everything would climb sharply, killing the housing market once again, and should we default on our debt, it would most likely lead to an absolutely unimaginable depression and a period of social and political upheaval unlike anything that we have seen since the Civil War. And if you think that sounds a little bit extreme, because I know that it does, I want you to keep this in mind. Almost 40% of the entire U.S. population today is dependent upon the government, whether it's for their job as a federal employee, contractor, or soldier, or for assistance in the form of unemployment, food stamps, Social Security, or Medicare. So if the government doesn't continue to raise the debt ceiling, 40% of the population could be directly affected. And we got to see a tiny little glimpse of what that might look like during the 16-day-long government shutdown in October of 2013. So the bottom line is that too much debt got us into this mess, and Washington's big solution to that problem has been to create record levels of even more debt. It doesn't take a genius to understand that this doesn't work out well in the end for anyone. Now, remember that whole part about history repeating itself that we talked about earlier? Well, when countries have taken this same course of action in the past, and many have, by printing more and more money to pay for the debt created by the last batch of money they printed, it's typically resulted in serious inflation. Now, according to the Fed's official CPI numbers, the ones they put out on their websites, inflation has eroded the value of our currency by 2,265%. And historically, this trend ends one way, and that is in hyperinflation, which means the prices of food, energy, and goods will skyrocket, bankrupting the middle class, and anyone on a fixed income will be forced to feed themselves from a breadline. Well, this chart shows the national debt and money supply along with the inflation index or CPI, and as you can see, all three have entered an exponential increase that is unsustainable. This is the sign that a nation has entered stage 7 of its life cycle. Now, if you think this is really extreme, worst case scenario, doomsday stuff that will never happen, I want you to keep in mind that hyperinflation has already happened in over 30 countries in the last 100 years alone. We've got Argentina, Austria, Brazil, Chile, China, Germany, Israel, Japan, Greece, Hungary, Peru, the Philippines, Poland, Romania, the Russian Federation, Taiwan, Ukraine, Zimbabwe, Belarus, and twice in the United States already during the Revolutionary War and Civil War. So what's gonna happen? Well, since 2008, we've been walking this tightrope between an economy that wants to implode into a deflationary depression due to the highest levels of debt ever seen in the history of mankind, and hyperinflation as the Federal Reserve attempts to stave off that implosion by continuously pumping in trillions of dollars in stimulus money. This unprecedented manipulation has economic experts on both sides of the debate pulling their hair out in confusion because we're seeing signs of both phenomena at the same time, just as we've seen new record stock market highs during a period of record food stamp usage. So in my opinion, this current period of calm, this eye in the storm, which may last another month or maybe even another 10 years, is the single most dangerous illusion to your financial prosperity and security in the world. No one knows when that tightrope act is going to come to its sudden and unexpected but fatal end. We just know that it will. So given these challenges, what can you do to protect your money from them or even prosper? Well, that's what we're going to cover next. And if you haven't overdosed on antidepressants just yet, congratulations. You've made it through the pain, and now it's time to talk about the massive opportunity that's sitting before you. Now, I didn't share all of this with you today to create fear or concern. I shared it with you today because it's simply reality. And now that you're armed with awareness, you have two choices. You can hide your head in the sand and ignore it like most people will, hoping that somebody else will save them. Or you can see the situation for what it is, and you can take responsibility for your life and for your future and give yourself the opportunity to come out the other side of this more prosperous than before. And in fact, you might not know this, but more people became millionaires during the Great Depression than any other period in history up until that point in time. How is that possible? Well, the greatest periods of change also present the biggest opportunities if you're one of the few people who prepared ahead of time to take advantage of them. So we're about to live through the largest wealth transfer in the history of human civilization, as all of the money from the people and the businesses on the losing side of the trends that we just covered is transferred to the tiny number of people in the know on the winning side. Money is never destroyed. It's like energy. It's simply transferred from one state or one person to another. So what are you going to do about these unprecedented risks to the U.S. economy, and how can you turn them into a massive opportunity? Well, I cannot and will not tell you what you should do with your money. I am not a financial advisor of any kind. I'm just a regular person like you, and the way I see it, my life's savings are at risk. My financial future is at risk, and the legacy that I want to leave to my family is at risk, and that means yours is too. Well, I'm not going to just sit back and be a victim of insane bankers on Wall Street or politicians in Washington who are literally gambling our money away. I'm taking action, and as you're about to see, that decision has led to one of the most lucrative adventures of my life. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, my strategy was simple. If you want to become rich, you have to invest like the rich, which sounds great in theory, but I quickly ran into a tiny little problem with my approach. There aren't any books or courses out there in the world that show you how to do that. And I know this because I've spent years looking for them. Sure, there are hundreds of books on making money with real estate and stocks and how to retire, but those books were written for the previous era before 2008 and before the rules of investing had changed. When it comes to a true blueprint for wealth creation today, it doesn't exist. And once you sit down and you think about it, it's not really surprising. I mean, after all, people who are extremely rich typically don't want to talk about it. They don't want to put it out there in the public, let alone write a book telling others how they did it, which means this kind of knowledge is basically trapped inside this little black box that is hidden from the general public like you and I. Is very much a boys' club. But time is short and the stakes are too high for you to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. The time for action is right now. It's not next week or next year. With every day that goes by, the window of opportunity gets smaller and smaller while the risks of inaction get larger and larger. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and crack open that box myself. The result began as a simple little passion project I created for myself and a few close friends that we nicknamed the Elevation Group. And the strategy was simple. There are three things that you need to get yourself out of the middle-class investment slaughterhouse, is the way I think of it, and into the world of the rich. First, you need cutting-edge information from people who really know what's going on. Not from the talking heads on the news who read scripts, or from an advisor who's only listening to your dreams and goals so that he can use them against you when it's time to sell you his products. All right, so second, you need the knowledge and skills needed to act on the information that you receive. For example, if you're going to buy gold, you need to know how much to buy, what kind to buy, where to buy it from, eventually when and where to sell it. If you're going to invest in real estate, you need to make sure that you have the best information that you can get on any given market so that you don't buy at the top of another bubble. If you want to secure your stocks with options or trailing stop, you need to know how to do that. And finally, you need to have the Rolodex necessary to make all of this possible. And this is the single most important piece of this entire puzzle and the biggest secret to my success. Because building wealth is not as much about what you know, but who you know. So listen, I don't have the time, and I'm pretty sure you don't have the time, to go out and learn how to become a master stock trader, real estate investor, or oil tycoon. These are skills that people have dedicated their entire lives to developing, just as you have dedicated your life to your particular career. So instead of spending years of my life learning how to master these new arenas, I took a lesson from the time we spent with Richard Branson. He said, the number one secret to his business success, which is measured in billions, is people. For every aspect of his life, from the people who cook his food to those who run his companies, he finds the very best person in the world at that task and he brings them onto his team. So that is what I decided to do as well. Since the crash of 2008, I've spent the past few years hunting down the best people I can find in every financial arena, building my own little personal team of investing superheroes, which is how I think of them, who see and understand the same coming economic threats and opportunities that I do. I'm flying to their homes, I'm putting them on private conference calls, I'm getting them to reveal how they invest and grow their money personally, and I'm documenting the entire process in a way that's never, ever been done before. Now, the goal of the Elevation Group is simple. It is to empower average, ordinary people like you and I, whether you're young or old, rich or poor, with the knowledge and contacts needed to achieve extraordinary wealth in a brave new world of investing. For example, one of my first goals was to identify the best way to create a secure retirement foundation that wouldn't be susceptible to the crazy ups and downs of the market that we've experienced over the past few years, specifically right in 2008, 2009. Well, for me, there's simply no way I'm going to risk my retirement money, the stuff that is supposed to be there no matter what, on a system that's run by machines and corrupt bankers. But what's the alternative? Well, using my network, I was introduced to an extremely smart young man named Patrick who taught me how to create what you might consider your own family bank, which is a strategy used by the rich to accomplish several very important things. Now, chances are extremely high that neither you nor your financial advisor have ever heard about this. And in fact, the government actively suppresses information about this special type of account, and it keeps the companies involved from advertising it, even though some of the most wealthy people and powerful companies in the world use it, including Walt Disney, J.C. Penney, Ray Kroc of McDonald's, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and we can't forget President John F. Kennedy, President Taft, President Cleveland, McKinley, Harding, Roosevelt, and Senator McCain. And in fact, this strategy has proven so powerful that the Wall Street Journal recently declared that it has become a tax shelter for the rich. It gives the affluent tax advantages far beyond those available to middle-income people through a 401k or IRA. In other words, I'll bet you have one of those or both of those, and yet you're missing out on something that's much more powerful because you're not really allowed to find out about it. But here's the real kicker. There's no kind of legal income requirement to use this setup yourself. You don't need to be rich to use it. And in fact, I could have benefited from this strategy back when I was waiting tables and next to broke. And yet less than 0.07% of Americans currently take advantage of this type of account. Well, this method has allowed me to build wealth in a completely hands-free, automated fashion on a monthly basis for the very first time, which has absolutely changed my life. So here's what this one tiny little investment strategy used by the rich can do for you. First, it can provide you with an average return of about 5% per year without risk of the principal, which means the amount will never drop even if the market does, and it can't be frozen or seized during a banking crisis. And in fact, this is why banks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs keep billions of dollars of their own money in this type of account here today. Now, unlike a 401k, it enables you to access your money whenever you want without penalty. In most states, it provides protection against creditors, so you'll never have to worry about losing your retirement money due to an unexpected lawsuit, bankruptcy, or even divorce. Unlike a 401k or an IRA, there's no limit to how much you can invest. You can use it to become your own bank so that you can buy your home, your cars, and make other investments while paying yourself the interests instead of taking a loan out from a bank and paying them the interest. And if you don't understand how important this one single strategy can be to you and your financial future, I'm going to show you. Let's say that you're going to buy a house and your mortgage is $300,000. You get a 30-year fixed rate loan at 5%. Well, you're going to end up paying the bank $279,000 and change just in interest on a house that originally cost $300,000. So you end up paying almost double the price. Well, with this family banking strategy, you end up paying yourself the interest and putting that $279,000 back in your pocket to invest in other assets. And the best part is that you can start using this strategy for about $100 a month. Well, here's the cherry on top. It allows you to pull out 100% of your money tax-free whenever you decide to retire. So this one single investment has become the foundation to my little burgeoning financial empire, if you might put it that way, because of the flexibility and security it provides, and it's completely changed my life. Now, one of the best features of this strategy is that the money is automatically added to your account every single month, which means every single month you'll grow a little bit richer than the month before, no matter what's happening to the stock market. Now, here's a next level strategy you can use to really build your wealth using this system. Now, I treat my family banking account like my own little personal holding tank for investments. I let the value build up each month automatically, and then once it hits my trigger point, I start hunting for investments that do two things. They produce monthly cash flow, and they reduce my taxes. This is one of the biggest secrets that I've learned from my adventures into the world of the rich, and I want to show you what's happened. But before I dive into those investments and the returns, I want to remind you that past performance is no guarantee of future results. Every investment is different, and it involves risk. You can make money or you can lose money. What I'm about to share with you are simply my personal results, and these numbers could change due to any number of factors, and I own all of these investments still here today, but up until the point when I put this presentation together, these are the accurate numbers. Now, one of the first investments on my shopping list was a share in an apartment complex, and I've always loved the idea of getting a check in the mail every month while also enjoying the tax benefits that real estate offers, which are some of the best in the world. But I had one major problem. I didn't know the first thing about investing in real estate. Well, fortunately, I was introduced to a second-generation real estate firm here in Austin, and the guys who run this company are absolutely fantastic people, and I've actually become very good friends with them and their families over the past couple of years because they're so passionate about this project in the Elevation Group. Well, they walked me through the details of their latest project over the phone, and I sent them a check from my family banking account for a tiny piece or share in an apartment complex in San Antonio, and then this is an actual picture of that complex. Since then, my cash-on-cash return so far has been 11.25% in the first year, and the total projected return for investors, if we were to sell that property today, is already at about 37% before any of the tax benefits are even considered. In fact, here's a picture of some of the checks that I've been getting from this project over the past year. But the best part is that it's a completely hands-free experience for the investors who participated. All of the property management is taken care of for us, so all we have to do is cash in the check when we get it every month, and that's pretty much it. And I have to say, this method of investing is much less stressful than watching the daily ups and downs of the stock market, and it's why I've encouraged my parents, who just retired, to invest in cash flow real estate like this as well. So instead of watching their nest egg decline each month as they cash in stocks to pay the bills, they're simply living on the cash flow produced by these apartment complexes. So if you're like me and you don't have the luxury or even the desire to spend years learning how to become an expert in real estate, remember, it's not just what you know, but who you know that matters. And that leads me to the second investment that I made using the funds, again, that I'd saved up each month in my family banking account over the past few years. Well, you've probably heard about the massive oil and gas boom taking place around the U.S. over the past few years, but what most people don't know is that you don't even have to invest in the oil and gas itself to profit from it. That opportunity for us came in the form of mobile housing developments for the oil field crews who typically work out in the middle of nowhere. Well, through the EVG Rolodex, I was introduced to an incredible couple in Colorado who wanted to take advantage of this growing opportunity. So they put together an investment group that purchased over 300 of these mobile housing units and set them up in the North Dakota Bakken Range. Thrilled to have access to clean, comfortable housing at an affordable price, the workers moved in quickly and the results have been fantastic, with the project on track to return 56.45% in year one after just 6 months in operation. Now, the combined monthly passive cash flow from these two real estate deals alone is already over $8,000 per month. This is income that shows up in my account every single month, whether the stock market goes up or down. So think about this for a minute. It's as if I created a second income of $100,000 per year without any additional work on my part. And both of these investments reduce my taxes by taking advantage of the business and real estate deductions that they come with. But we're not done yet. If you've ever read the best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, you know that he's a big fan of investing in oil and gas wells for two primary reasons. First, they produce monthly cash flow, and second, you get a giant tax deduction of about 25% the very first year of your investment, which is the same thing as an instant 25% return your very first year. So once again, we understood the big advantages of investing in oil and gas, but we had no idea how to actually do it. And this is, what do? Do you jump on Google and type in invest in oil and gas and call someone up in the yellow pages? It just doesn't work that way. Well, it took quite a bit of digging, but we eventually tracked down the exact same guys that Robert personally invests with. They're a small firm based in Dallas who've been in the industry for about 30 years, and this past year, my business partner Robert invested in one of their projects located in the Bakken Range. And as you can see here, the checks started out small, but they've grown larger and larger each month as more of the wells came online in that project. And here's something else that's kind of cool. I think it's safe to say that most people in the world hate high gasoline prices, but when you own part of the well that's producing the oil that gets turned into gasoline, the tables are actually turned. The higher the prices of oil and therefore gasoline go, the more money oil investors make. So now when Robert sees higher prices at the fuel pump, it doesn't bother him at all because he knows the next check he gets in the mail will most likely be higher. Now, this is just another example of how the rich tend to get richer, whether the markets go up or down. And now it's our mission in life to give you the knowledge and contacts you need in order to do the same. Now, I want you to notice something about all of the investments that I just mentioned. We have the family banking system, the apartment complex, the oil field housing, and the actual oil and gas wells. Well, all of these investments were made with our current economy in mind, the one, that's been walking a tightrope of destruction between massive inflation or deflation. Well, in the case of incredibly high inflation, Real tangible assets like real estate, farmland, precious metals, oil and gas, and even the stock market tend to hold their value and increase in price during times of high inflation. On the other hand, the value of cash in any type of savings account, money market account, or bonds tends to get destroyed by inflation. So as you can see, we've been investing in assets that should do very well during times of high inflation, and we've avoided putting cash into CDs, money market funds, and bonds, right? Well, what if the Fed stops printing trillions in new currency one day? What if we slide into a new depression? Well, in that case, cash is king, as the credit markets will likely seize up just as they did after the crash of 2008, and the ability to get any kind of loan will all but disappear. So while the general public fear a depression because it means their stock portfolio and the price of their houses will likely drop like a stone, the rich love depressions because that's when stocks and other assets sell for rock bottom prices. People who have cash on hand, like the cash in our family banking account for that matter, and people who have staple investments that produce monthly cash flow like apartment complexes and oil wells, should have a significant advantage because they can provide you with the cash you need to invest in new assets when prices are low and when few others have the ability to do so. And that brings us to the most important question of today's entire presentation, which is, what does all of this have to do with you? Well, at this point, you've probably got a couple thoughts running through your head like, okay, Mike, those are some impressive results, but they're your results. What does this have to do with me? Or, hey, this sounds great, Mike, but I don't have a lot of money to invest right now, so how do I benefit from this? Well, those are obviously two great questions, and I'll go ahead and answer those for you right now. What started as a simple little passion project for my business partner, Robert, and I soon turned into real results that I've just shared with you. In less than 36 months, I went from zero knowledge, experience, or contacts in the investing world to outperforming almost every major hedge fund and mutual fund on the market. And while taking this journey was an incredibly rewarding experience, our real mission was to empower the people of the world, people just like you, with the knowledge and ability to produce true wealth, no matter how young or old, rich or poor you might be. And I want to give you that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity I was given to learn from and even work with the same amazing people who took us under their wing and taught us how to avoid the coming financial pitfalls and achieve real financial freedom that allows you to live the kind of life that you want without the stress that comes with the Wall Street roller coaster ride. Every single strategy that we've learned and every person we've used to accomplish these results was documented on film and placed in a state-of-the-art private website for those who've seized the invitation to join this group when it was offered. And as a result, the Elevation Group is the only resource in the world of its kind dedicated to teaching the investing strategies of the rich to the middle class and providing you with the context you need in order to bring those strategies to life. Over 50,000 people from more than 60 countries have used our work to learn how to increase their financial security and prosperity, and today we'd like to offer you the opportunity to become one of them. You know, the examples that I've just shared with you over the past few minutes are really only the tip of the iceberg. And in fact, I want to give you just a small sample of the strategies and techniques that you'll have instant access to. Just as I mentioned earlier, one of the first things that you're going to do is learn how to create your own cash flow bank or family bank that allows you to create a tax-free retirement that's free from any stock market risks. You're going to discover the easiest way to own cash flow real estate and make monthly passive income without being a landlord. I'm even going to introduce you to the two groups I make all of my personal real estate investments with. Having a clean credit score is a critical foundational step to building wealth and acquiring assets. Well, you're going to learn how to get free copies of your credit report and score from all the major credit bureaus, and then how to increase your score by approximately 100 points within the next 4 months. We're going to teach you how to legally access money that you thought was trapped in your IRA so that you can invest in higher yield investments if you want, like cash flow real estate, oil wells, or even physical gold and silver. We're going to give you the contact information to my personal CPA, who also happens to be Robert Kiyosaki's CPA. And unlike most CPAs, Tom is a sophisticated investor and a business owner himself, so he understands and uses the strategies of the rich. So with this kind of knowledge, he was actually able to reduce my taxes by more than 30% on our very first phone call. Now, if you've ever read one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad books, you've probably noticed that he's a big fan of investing in oil wells that, again, produce monthly cash flow like real estate. Now, remember when I mentioned that we had tracked down the same oil and gas team that Robert Kiyosaki personally invests with and that we have now invested with as well? Well, we're going to introduce you to them and give you their contact information so that you can do the same if you want to. Would you like to learn how to get paid to borrow money whenever you buy a car or a house or pay for your child's college tuition? Well, once again, we'll sit down with Patrick and he's going to show you exactly how that was done and how you can get started again for as little as $100 a month. So even if you're on a budget, even if you're not rich, this is something that you can do right now to set up the same exact financial foundation that I did personally and to get yourself into that mode where you're building new wealth every single month. After that, we're going to teach you how to legally hide your money from creditors and make it safe from lawsuits, safe from the tax man, and even safe, unfortunately, from an ex-spouse. And that's a really unfortunate part of life, but it is a reality that at least half of us will have to deal with. So whether you're looking to legally move money overseas to protect it, or if you just need to set up a family trust, you absolutely need an asset protection strategy. And I'm going to introduce you to the same person and the same team who's created mine, along with some of the wealthiest families in the world. And yes, you can afford him. Now, if you have an IRA and you like your IRA and you want to learn how to maximize that strategy because it can be a great one if it's used effectively, we're going to teach you how to strategically combine 8 different types of IRAs that will allow you to invest up to $110,000 per year and take out all of that money tax-free when it's time to retire. Now, if you have kids and you want them to go to college, we're going to show you a financial strategy that will actually pay you to send them there instead of burdening them or yourselves with expensive student loans, which is one of the most rampant problems in today's newer, younger generations. Now, this is just a fraction of what we've documented and what you will learn as an Elevation Group member. And the best part is that everything comes from real life experience using these strategies with our own money. This isn't theory or some old dusty financial book written by a scholar who's never actually done any of it. These are the exact same people Robert and I have personally used to create our wealth strategies, to set up our estate plans, to maximize our credit score, to invest in oil wells, invest in cash flow apartments, and substantially reduce our taxes. Now, in addition to all of the video lessons you're going to get, you're also going to get instant access to that private Elevation Group Rolodex, which will give you the contact information for each and every member of our financial team, which means you can learn how to invest like the rich, and now you will also have the most important piece of the puzzle, which has been missing for everyone else, that priceless list of contacts in each industry of people who can actually bring these strategies and opportunities to life for you. Do you want to hire my personal CPA? Well, that's just a phone call away. Want to buy a share in an apartment complex that can pay you cash every month? Well, now you can. This kind of access is absolutely unprecedented, and it has taken years of trial and error and many people who have not made the cut for us to get to this point. This isn't something that you can just go and find these people online. We've given money to these people. We've seen the results that they've been able to produce for us, and that's the only reason that they're a part of this project. We're pulling back the curtain and giving you the knowledge your financial advisor either never wanted you to see or that he didn't even know existed. For the very first time, anyone who wants it, no matter what your current financial status might be, is going to have access to the strategies and techniques actually used by the rich to invest, protect, and grow their wealth. Individuals that I have come to know and trust who are worth tens of millions of dollars or more are going to sit down and they're going to teach you their philosophies and beliefs about money that enable them to attract it. They're going to sit down and show you how and where they invest their money so that you can grow it like they do. They're going to teach you how to protect your money from financial disaster and give your children the leadership and the skills they need in order to respect the wealth that you and your family create so they can be free as well. Building wealth in your life is about to get real. Whether you're in debt, about to retire, or if you're just starting the most productive years of your life, the Elevation Group is going to provide you with the answers you need to take control of your financial destiny and, frankly, give the proverbial finger to financial mediocrity. So if you'd like to get instant access to the only education source of its kind that will allow you to tap into the actual investing strategies used by the ultra-wealthy to create that solid financial foundation to protect your quality of life and grow your wealth year after year, along with all of the contacts I've personally used to implement these strategies, this is your opportunity. Now, the Elevation Group is a private membership, and there is only one rule that we require of you as a member, which is that you take responsibility for your financial decisions. We have zero tolerance for whiners, complainers, excuse makers, and people who like to blame others for their problems. I surround myself with positive people who constantly seek to better themselves, and that includes our members here. So if you're willing to do that, you're welcome to join us on this journey. Now, if you aren't familiar with private memberships or newsletters in the financial arena, I can tell you right now that they are not cheap. And I know this because over the past few years when I dove headfirst into this world, I joined almost all of them, literally spending tens of thousands of dollars. And in fact, here's the receipt of just one newsletter that I subscribed to, which cost me $15,000 a year to be a part of. And it's absolutely fantastic, but it's really just about stocks. So if you don't invest in the stock market and you're not a day trader, it's, of marginal use to you, even though the information is fantastic. But look at the price tag that you have to pay to get good quality info. Well, our goal with the Elevation Group is to get this information into the hands of as many people as possible. So we've kept the price to become a member as low as possible while still respecting the incredible amount of work and expense that it's taken to create this one-of-a-kind wealth creation resource. And in fact, it has cost us over $250,000, $258,000 to be exact, just in film production costs to document these strategies for you. Now, if you were to head over to our homepage, you can actually go purchase an annual membership to the Elevation Group today for just $1,197. And if that sounds expensive, let's take a second look real quick. Would you pay $1,200 to save $279,000 on your mortgage? Yes, of course you would. Would you pay $1,200 to learn how to retire 100% tax-free whenever you decide? Yes, of course you would. Would you pay $1,200 to get access to real estate opportunities that can return 10 to 15% per year and reduce your taxes instead of a mutual fund who might provide a 3% return after all of their fees? Yes, of course you would. Would you pay $1,200 to learn how to protect your family and your retirement nest egg from a devastating lawsuit or divorce? Would you pay $1,200 to learn how to legally double the amount of money you can put into your IRA each year? The answer is, of course, yes and yes. It would be foolish not to do any of these things. But here's the deal. Your membership isn't going to cost $1,200 when you join today. Right here, right now, just during this webinar, I'd like to offer you two extremely valuable upgrades. First, I want to upgrade your annual membership to a lifetime membership, which means that you're going to receive instant access to our entire How to Invest Like the Rich video library, and you're also going to get free access to every new lesson we're going to produce in the coming months and years for life. But I think you're going to like this upgrade even more. Because you took the time to watch this entire webinar and invest in your financial education, I'm going to offer you that same lifetime membership at a 50% discount, cutting the price from $1,197 down to just $597, which is a cash savings of $600 when you join right now. Now, if this is still too much for your budget, and I understand because I've been in that position myself, we've created a second option because frankly, that simply means you need this information more than anyone. So instead of paying $1,197 or even $597, you can become a lifetime member of the Elevation Group for just 3 monthly installments of $247. Now, please understand that this 50% discount is only available right now through the links on this page. Now, you can go ahead and click on the option that suits you best, and a new window is going to open with a secure checkout page so that you can continue watching and listening to this video as you fill out your information. Now, no matter which option you choose, your membership comes with our 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you dive into the Elevation Group and it's just not right for you for any reason at all, then you can head over to our support page and request a prompt refund. So here's the bottom line, guys. I'm kind of old-fashioned when it comes to business. If you don't feel like you've received 10 times more in value from your membership than the price that you paid, we don't want your money, period. This means you have absolutely nothing to lose. Either you're blown away by what you learn and it helps you achieve your financial dreams in the coming years, or you don't pay a dime. Now, for those of you who are wondering if you need to already have money and wealth in order to really benefit from the Elevation Group, let me address that for you really quick because my answer is probably going to be a bit surprising. The short answer is no, you don't. But here's the more important answer. The amount of money in your bank account right now is temporary. I want you to realize that. It's going to change over time, and it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. Now, clearly, you want to have more money, wealth, and prosperity in your future, which is why you're watching this. Well, in order to make more money and build wealth, you have to change two very important things first, which is how you view money and your financial education. Now, most people are mentally and emotionally controlled by money. It's this rare, hard to come by green paper that determines what they can and cannot do in life. While the rich have learned through mentors and education like this that they control money and that it's infinitely available. And once you have this realization, you're ready to become a student and openly accept the education that you're about to receive. And if you do the same thing with your money that they are doing with theirs, you're going to get the same result. It really is that simple. And this is how you become wealthy, which is why I believe that the less money you currently have, the more important this education is for you. The Elevation Group is going to change your subconscious mindset and your relationship with wealth and with prosperity every single time you log in and go through the content. You know, it's a well-known fact that how much money you make over the next 2 to 5 years will be the average of the 5 people you're associating with most right now. And that is the real power of the Elevation Group, because it gives you a direct line into a growing group of some of the most respected and wealthy people in the world that you'll have an opportunity to spend as much time as you want with each and every day. And as you do so, your thinking will change, your attitude will change, your relationships will change, your income will change, and as a result, your financial destiny will change. And if you don't become a member, well, the results are obvious. You'll wake up tomorrow in the same exact position or worse than you're in today, because you don't have the education, you don't have the mindset, and you don't have the peer group of wealthy mentors and individuals that will help you change that. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to get off my soapbox before I lose my voice. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank you for becoming a member of the Elevation Group, assuming that you've made the smart decision to do so. Please continue to fill out that page and go ahead and hit submit if you haven't done so already, and we will see you on the inside. Thanks again for becoming a part of our little movement to change the world for the better, and to do that by changing your life first. And if everybody focuses on doing that, we will all change as a group. Now, if you haven't created your account yet, just click the payment option that suits you best and get started. You'll have instant access to what I believe is the most valuable and unique source of financial education and context on the planet. And this, again, is your only opportunity to lock in that 50% discount and that free upgrade to a lifetime membership instead of an annual. So join us. So thanks so much again for your time today. I look forward to seeing you on the inside in a few minutes, and I'm going to leave you with some testimonials that members have sent in to us over the past couple of years when they were in your seat, in your position, and they decided to say yes and to make a difference in their lives. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, Mike. Lee Ninneman here. Mike, I'm a financial advisor. When I saw your Elevation Group being advertised, I wanted to see a little bit more of what it was about. There's some scary stuff going on right now in our economy, and I'm always looking for opportunities to be able to educate my people better. And I wanted to take advantage of anything that might educate me more in that regards. As I've had the opportunity to already review some of the items you have there, the infinite banking concept, and now the most recent post, the gold and silver information, I'll tell you, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the next things that you bring out. I would recommend this to anyone who is seriously looking to make sure that they're not left behind as far as what's going on in this economy. I'll tell you, one word describes it. It's bodacious. Bodacious. Anyone who doesn't know what that word means, look it up, because it describes your program to the T.
Hi, this is Matt Connor from Bozeman, Montana, and the reason why I joined the Elevation Group was for the how-to. I wanted to learn exactly how to implement some of these strategies I've been hearing about for the last few years from guys like Robert Kiyosaki and Michael Maloney. And, that's where the Elevation Group has stepped in and has promised to show us exactly how to implement some of these black box strategies of the rich. And man, after logging in, I wasn't disappointed at all. There's hours and hours of content in there already covering several different strategies that the rich use. And in fact, one strategy, the infinite banking strategy, which I probably like the best so far, is something that I've already started implementing as of today. So if you're thinking about joining the Elevation Group, I say just go for it. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's such a small price to pay for securing your financial future. If you don't want to get left behind like the rest of middle-class America as the economy continues to crumble around you, then this is the place to be. I know I haven't been disappointed by joining, and you won't either.
Hi, my name is Eddie Espiritu, and I have been a home-based business entrepreneur since 1994. And I've been very, very pleased and satisfied over the years with all of the products and services that I participated in with Mr. Mike Dillard. They've always been top-notch. In fact, when I decided to join the Elevation Group, I really didn't even know what it was going to be about at first. I just knew that if Mike was involved, it was going to be good. Over the years, one of the lessons that I've learned in business is that although it's important what we know, more importantly, it's important who we know. And the Elevation Group is all about giving us access, you and I, the everyday person, giving us access to the knowledge and the connections and the resources that we need to not only create wealth, but long-lasting wealth. When I logged into the back office of the Elevation Group and I started going through the material, needless to say, top-notch is exactly what I expected. If you're considering joining the Elevation Group, I highly recommend it. The information, the knowledge, and the resources will change your life.
Hi guys, this is Andre Accord, all the way from the Netherlands in Europe, giving you some information on Mike Dillard's Elevation Group. I've just joined the Elevation Group and I must say I am blown away by the information I'm getting. I'm getting wisdom and knowledge on how to create wealth, to preserve it, so I can leave a heritage for my children, for my children's children. And the way the content is being delivered, it's in a no-nonsense way. It's easy to understand, and it really helps me. So I can honestly recommend this program. There is a money-back guarantee, so if you join, you don't like it, you can step out. But I think if you listen to the first few videos, you'll be blown away and hooked in a positive way. What really added information to me was Mike Maloney speaking on the cycles of silver and gold. Great stuff.
Hi Mike, Stevie Sullivan here in Los Angeles, California, also known as Boomer Mama, rocking the internet. And I wanted to tell you thank you for the Elevate program. I had a chance to hang out with you a couple of different times and heard you refer to this, and I'm so excited that this program is here. I feel like there's a really great need for it. Who am I? I'm 60 years old. I'm part of that Boomer generation. I am in part of a sandwich generation. I have a 98-year-old on one side. I have two young adults, 21 and 24, on the other. And I feel like I'm going to be and am responsible for a good portion and piece of the financial future of my family. And I want to make sure that I have my hands on the best information possible. What did I think when I opened up Elevate? What I saw were some pretty creative ideas that wasn't just the same old status quo. And it's really about taking possession and control and really learning a great deal of information in order to be able to make the right financial decisions and really plot and plan out your future. Part of the problem we all had before is the greed and the debacle on Wall Street and what happened to people's investments when they thought they were all doing the right thing. But that was based upon putting your future in other people's hands and trusting that they knew what they were doing. I don't think we can do that anymore. I think the economy, not only just in the United States, but also on a global scale, is going to be headed into the world of the haves and the have-nots. And I want to make sure that I take control of my financial future, because at the age of 60, I want to make sure that the rest of the years that I do have are going to be some of the most creative in my life financially, so that I can live the kind of life that I want to live. I want to be armed, I want to be prepared, I want to be in the know, and I want to be steps ahead of the market, and I think that's what Elevate does. I've spent a great deal of time talking about this program to other people, and it's part of my major Boomer influence that I have out there with my Boomer conference coming up in the fall. Elevate is going to be and is a major piece and part of that. I'm so adamant that people have got to create their financial stability themselves and their wealth. And there has to be wealth in a whole new way. And it's not slow growth. It's going to be some pretty aggressive moves based upon some pretty intense knowledge and timing. And I love all of that. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here. And I look awfully serious, and I want to smile about this because I know that this is going to make a real difference in my life. I want to thank you for your brilliance, and I want to thank you for doing it again. One more time, Mr. Mike Dillard, thank you for Elevate from the bottom of my heart, and I'm delighted to be here as part of this beta program. And if anybody wants to know if this is a program of benefit, you only need to spend about probably a minute or two wandering through the office and the site to figure that out for yourself. So look out, jump in, jump on, and grab a hold of your future. Thanks a lot, Mike. You did it again.
Hi, Cameron Carpenter here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I just wanted to thank you, Mike Dillard, for forming the Elevation Group and for doing the legwork and research that you've done in putting a historical perspective on just what the hell's been going on in the U.S. economy over the last 3 years. I lost a lot of money in 2007, 2008 from investment real estate, and was left, frankly, pretty confused and distraught and disenchanted and wondering what the next moves are. And I heard your message about wealth transfer and what to look forward to in the coming months and years based on historical perspective and what's happened in the past, and your information's been spot on. I've been really impressed by the professionals you've put together and the invaluable information and advice they've been able to give so far very early on, and you haven't really even launched yet. So if any of you are thinking about getting into the Elevation Group, I would suggest do it as soon as you can. It's some of the best money you could spend on great advice and getting on in the inside, because if you're not on the inside, you're definitely on the outside, and it's not a good place to be. So hope to see you on the inside soon. Thanks, Mike, and looking forward to the journey.
Hey Mike, Sal Harper here, and I just quickly wanted to share my experience and story with you. 2010 has truly been a life-transforming year for me. You see, earlier this year, I discovered my life's purpose is to help others with their finances. I have always been a good steward of money, and reflecting on my career as a budget and financial analyst, I didn't realize until recently that managing a multi-million-dollar budget for a Fortune 50 company has been preparation for the opportunity today to teach others how to manage and invest their own money. Inside the Elevation Group, you have provided us with the most advanced resources, tools, and investment information that the average person doesn't even know exist. Only the ultra-wealthy have been privy to this information until now. And the best part about this site is that you don't have to be rich to start applying some of these investment strategies. Now, I know I sound like a paid advertisement, but that's just my passion and enthusiasm about how EBG is helping to educate people on so many levels. Anyone concerned about their financial future and financial security must take a look at the Evolution Group. Mike, I am so excited to be a part of this group. Thanks for caring, my friend, and sharing this wealth of information.
Hey guys, if you're on this page, it's because you're looking at Mike Dillard and you're familiar with Mike Dillard's content. This is Nate Forrest from Fayetteville, Arkansas, with the Razorback Marching Band behind me. Guys, if you're thinking about the Elevation Group, don't think about it. Join today. The information inside is phenomenal. As we've always been taught, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Your income will be determined by the top 5 people you spend your time with. And that's the best part about the Elevation Group, is Mike Dillard has aligned himself with millionaires and literally billionaires and put together some content so you know when to get in, when to get out, what the wealth cycles are. Guys, if you're thinking about the Elevation Group, get in. Again, this is Nate Forrest from Fayetteville, Arkansas, saying woo pig suey. We're about to run onto the field with the Razorback Marching Band, watch Arkansas beat Vanderbilt. Mike Dillard, thank you for the Elevation Group. Let's go. Here we come, boys.
Hello, my name is Jeff Pierce. I'm a full-time day trader from Vancouver, and I interact daily with traders whose biggest concerns are how high is gold going to go? Are we going to experience hyperinflation? And the answer to these questions and more is what makes the Elevation Group an industry first. When I first logged on, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. There's a community here. Because after the '08 meltdown left most with a sense of, what do I do now? That's very short-term thinking when you need to be thinking longer term. And that's what I like best about the Elevation Group, is it teaches you how to protect your savings in an era of rising taxes and currency devaluations, while empowering you by providing contacts and the knowledge to create a passive income. And to those who are thinking about joining the Elevation Group, I firmly believe that you are better off with Mike Dillard and his proven track record of success to deliver you the skills and the tools needed to get you to wherever your financial destination is. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ricardo Lalama, and I'm a chiropractor here in the state of New Jersey. And like most traditional professionals, I actually went down the route of getting good grades, getting a good education, getting a good job, and also making good money. The only problem is that I actually never learned or even had time to learn how to leverage my finances. And just knowing that has been so frustrating for me for a long time because I knew it was a language of finances that I had to learn how to speak. So when I learned that Mike Dillard was actually organizing the Elevation Group, I knew that I had to jump right in. So I didn't hesitate. I jumped right in, became a member, and I started learning the information that he has back there. And I got to tell you, what the amount of information he has so far is very impressive. And just knowing that it's a tip of the iceberg, I mean, I'm just literally blown away. You'll learn stuff like that I never knew, what wealth cycles are, how to leverage and position yourself to gain the most from them. You'll learn how to leverage your life insurance and also your mortgage. We're constantly taught to traditionally to pay it off as soon as we can, but you got to learn how to, and what they'll teach you is learn how to leverage it like the wealthy do. And also becoming your own bank, that blew me away. How do you become your own bank? You'll learn that in the back office with the Elevation Group. Now, as a chiropractor, we're constantly taught to teach our patients that structure dictates function. And it's the same exact thing here. What you will learn in the back office of the Elevation Group is that if you structure your finances accordingly and properly, you will actually have a function so they can grow and benefit you in the long run. So with that said, know that the knowledge you gain in the back will be vital for your future. And not only that, you'll have the resources to apply this knowledge. So if you're thinking about joining the Elevation Group, definitely do so. Don't hesitate. Do like I did, just jump right in and start learning. With that said, I look forward to someday maybe perhaps creating a strategic alliance. Take care.
Hey guys, this is Eric Webster, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why I decided to get involved with Mike Dillard and his new Elevation Group. First, it's Mike Dillard. He always brings top notch, and he's done it again. When I first opened up the back office, I saw, whoa, he went a lot beyond what I thought he was going to do. Because, I've studied a lot of these issues, and I'm actually pretty well aware with a lot of stuff Mike's talked about publicly so far. But here's the deal. Unless you got connections, and this is what Mike brings to the table, is connections. Some of this stuff, you're not going to get a seat at the table. You're not going to be able to play, no matter how educated you are about it. Some of this stuff, you got to have the connections. And Mike, being the celebrity he is, he brings those connections. So if you're even thinking about this, you need to get in because, we got a disaster coming. And this is the information you need to get ahead, stay ahead, and prosper when everybody else is suffering. So get on in. It's going to be a good ride. Catch you later.
Hey everybody, Laura Reeves here. Just a quick shout out to let you know that I joined the Elevation Group about a week and a half ago. The information I'm getting inside that group from the mega wealthy is amazing to me. I desperately needed it for my own finances. I don't have a problem making the money, but I have a little bit of a problem keeping the money. So I'm having a blast. I cannot believe the information that has already helped me to strategize for my future that I've gotten on the inside. And I can't even imagine what I'm going to learn in the months to come. I love it. If you're thinking of joining the Elevation Group, you might want to ask yourself, instead of, why should I join the Elevation Group? You might want to ask yourself, why wouldn't you? This is important for our future. It's important to take control of our own destiny. And I am excited as all get out. So I hope to see you on the inside. Take care.
My name is Dan Jay. I'm from Dallas, Texas. The reason I joined the Elevation Group is I work in the financial services industry, life settlements to be exact. I manage portfolios for professional athletes and high net worth individuals. So when I saw that Mike Dillard was coming out with a new product, knowing Mike's history and that he's always ahead of the curve, I was like, I'll check it out. So I ended up getting inside the back office and checking it out, and I was completely blown away. This is not information that you can find anywhere. This isn't stuff your CPA is going to tell you. It's certainly not stuff you're going to learn in college or anything like that, or in my case, anything that you're being taught in the financial services industry. So if you're thinking about joining the Elevation Group, please do for your own family's future. I don't care if you're just looking to add an extra few $100s a month with an investment, or you're looking to create a long-term situation like Paul Harmon talks about in his videos, and being able to create your own family bank and things like that. That's just stuff that's never been talked about before, and you're never going to find it anywhere else. So I would always recommend that you join the Elevation Group and just get out of what I feel like I'm getting out of. Thanks.
Hello there, my name is Lucian Bouchard. I'm a 32-year-old Gen Xer that's been dealt the lucky fate of having to pay for the baby boomers' retirement. I spent the past 14 years or so as an entrepreneur learning about wealth creation from some of the top millionaires in this industry. And I've got to tell you folks, what they've taught me is nothing comparison to what I've learned in the Elevation Group so far. The information in the Elevation Group is downright shocking and nearly scared me half to death when I reviewed it. So I'll tell you folks, there's nothing out there in this world right now like the Elevation Group. And just to take a moment to share with you about Mike Dillard, guys, he's just a man of integrity, and when he speaks you should really listen. The information that he'll provide you is just absolutely incredible. So I can't wait to see what Mike Dillard has in store for us. I can't wait to share a mastermind with you all in this group, and let's take this journey together. So if you're on the fence about whether you should join the Elevation Group, just do it already. Take the plunge, and I'll tell you, it'll be the best financial decision that you've ever made in your entire life. So I'll see you all on the inside. Thanks so much, Mike Dillard, and I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, my name is Gary Houghton, and I'd like to take a minute and just share with you my reasons for why I joined the Elevation Group. There's just so much uncertainty right now in the markets and the overall economy, and like you, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with it. So I heard that Mike Dillard was going to start this company called the Elevation Group, where he was going to share with people like you and me, ordinary people, the secrets of the ultra wealthy. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, like what other opportunity do we have where we can follow somebody, a successful person, and what they're going to do with their money over the next 3 to 5 years. So I signed up, got in the back office, and was just blown away with the content. It's not rocket science. The manner in which it's taught, it's easy to understand. The information is you can apply right away. And so I'm excited that I'm taking advantage of this. And if you're watching this video and you're undecided, you're not sure if you're going to sign up, sign up. I mean, join us on the inside. The information that you're going to learn and what you're going to be able to do with your money in the next 3 to 5 years is just going to be huge. Thank you again, Mike, for providing this value to us, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the inside.